Our game is turning crops and water into milk. That's the hub of the business. We supply mainly through the domestic market into Sydney and then expanding through into some Asian opportunities, particularly into China.
I've worked with Moxey Farms for around 8 years now. Josh Zeiser, the farm manager for Moxey Dairies, he made contact with me, sort of floating the idea of, like, we've just purchased this property, this is our plan, and they wanted to make sure they were abiding by what the legislation would allow. So they basically asked me to come out and work with them in developing this land, in developing this property itself from a dryland cropping system into a full irrigated property.
Historically, we had a reasonable amount of flood irrigation, but moving towards a pivot-centred business, we're not constrained to work around, particular trees. It's quite nice, but also from our farming system works in pretty well.
The plan involved removing paddock trees for the installation of these new centre pivots.
What's so great about the pivot irrigation system, we've been able to grow dual crops at the same time. We're lucky enough to take it off as for silage, so it's turned more or less dry land into irrigation country. It's very important to be water efficient. You never know when the dam's not going to fill up again, so we want to make the most of every drop that we get.
You've got to feed cows, and for us, we like to control the forage production. The whole business really, performance is around how much forage we can grow and the quality of that forage. So, certainly being able to do it in-house and have control of the quality, so knowing what we're feeding them and knowing how we've grown it is really important.
The current legislation works really well for farmers who are really looking outside the box. It's simple, it's easy, and I think it's flexible. Because the site itself had very little remnant vegetation left on it, the only set-aside option they had was revegetation.
The requirement for removing paddock trees is we had to put some set-asides out throughout our farm, which worked out really well because we could link up other corridors of our farming. There's plenty of paddock trees being set aside in areas that make sense for wildlife movements and all the rest, and we'll also, in those areas, we've made sure that we've kept our animals out and also put barricades around trees to help look after the trees that are there.
Working with local land service has been good. I think we've got a good relationship with Christian, our officer, and we've always been accessible. They're always out here to help us work through.
It's really good to be involved in a business that wants to be sustainable going forward, and it's always been our #1 priority.
I'm 4th generation, on the land, and I got little kids and plenty more on the way. So look, I think for us, our job is to leave it, in a better place than we found it. And wherever you can do that and also be productive, it's pretty rewarding.